Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door, and today I'm talking about tarot and deer. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you weren't able to attend live or didn't register in time, you can go ahead and get my tarot card creation workshop where you get a full hour-long recording with my step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you through it for just $33. The link will be in the show notes to purchase that now. I'm going to be offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course this summer. If you're interested, I will have the link in the show notes to sign up for more information about that as well. We will be starting at the end of August 2025, so you still have a little bit of time to get more info, and I will be sending out more emails coming soon. I did just update my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever, so if you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the Lovers level for just $6.66. If you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, join us at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. We just had one on July 27th and it was super fun. I had all new people come and talk tarot. We did readings for each other. We snacked and drank and just talked everything tarot for a couple of hours and the old hangout in the Tacoma McMiniman. So go ahead and sign up for the Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event so you get a notification when the new events are posted. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and more. And if you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain and illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so welcome to season 12, where I'm talking all about tarot and animals. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics. Seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and an overview of the 4 suits. Season 4, I talked tarot and pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. Season 6, 7, 8, and 9 were the suit of wands, pentacles, swords, and cups. Season 10 was all about tarot and witchcraft, and season 11 was about tarot and plant allies. And like I said, we are on to season 12, where I'm talking all about tarot and animals. And today I'm talking about tarot and deer. So I'll go through an overview of the animal description, symbolism and animal magic associated with them, and then its relation to the tarot, and we'll pull a card at the end to see what message deer have for us today. So as we get into our description, I'm going to be reading a bit from Wikipedia, but deer are a hoofed ruminant ungulate of the family Cervidae, informally the deer family. So Cervidae is divided into subfamilies, which includes other animals like elk and different kinds of deer. And then there's a different family, Capreolinae, that has reindeer or caribou, white-tailed deer, and moose. So, Cervidae includes elk and moose and all these things as well. Let's see. So male deer of almost all species, as well as female reindeer, grow and shed new antlers every year. The antlers are bony extensions of the skull and are often used for combat between males, often during mating season. There are a couple different exceptions here in the musk deer, but other than that, deer appear in art from Paleolithic cave paintings onward, and they have played a role in mythology, religion, and literature throughout history, as well as heraldry, such as red deer that appear in the coat of arms of Alenod. Their economic importance includes the use of their meat as venison, their skins as soft, strong buckskin, and their antlers as handles for knives. Deer hunting has been a popular activity since the Middle Ages and remains a resource for many people today. So I guess the word deer had a very broad meaning originally and then became more specific with time. In Old English or Middle English, deer meant just a wild animal of any kind. And so other sort of Germanic languages, which is where English comes from, have a general sense of like animal, and then other places other things have relation to this word deer, like tior or dior or dios or deer in different languages, like Old High German, Old Norse, Gothic, things like that. It says the general sense gave way to the modern English sense by the middle of the English period, around 1500, and all modern Germanic languages, save English and Scots, retain the more general sense where deer means animal. So again, sort of in English, we use deer to mean sort of this Cervidae family, but previously, if deer has been used in other time periods, it would have just literally meant like animal. For many types of deer in modern English language, the male is considered a buck and the female is a doe, but terms vary for dialect. So also like the male red deer is called a stag, whereas other species, the male is a bull, the female a cow, as in cattle, or I know moose are qualified like that too. There are there's lots of iterations of this. The young small species is a fawn, or sometimes a calf, or even a kid, which again, like calf would be coming from, right, the sort of like cow, bovine family. Kid comes more in like goats or things like that. And a group of any species of these is a herd. And I guess the adjective in relation to cervine is like the family name Cervidae. That's from Latin, as cervus means stag or deer. Deer live in a variety of biomes, ranging from the tundra to tropical rainforests. They often are associated with forests, but actually a lot of them live in sort of transitional areas between forests and thickets, and prairie and savanna, which I think if you think about when you've seen deer out in the wild, I would say that generally it is sort of in those transition periods where there's a bunch of trees and then they kind of come out at the edge. And things like that. Deer are prey animals, and so they're going to be often looking for cover, being in the understory and things like that, eating grasses, weeds, and herbs, all things like that might be adjacent to like croplands also, and so that kind of encourages them to come out. Again, deer are widely distributed. It says with indigenous representatives in all continents except Antarctica and Australia, although Africa has only one native deer. The highest concentration of large deer species in temperate North America lies in the Canadian Rocky Mountain and Columbia Mountain regions between Alberta and British Columbia, where there's all 5 North American deer species, which include white-tailed deer, mule deer, caribou, elk, and moose. There are also certain national parks, like Glacier National Park, Kootenai National Park, Banff, Jasper, and Glacier, that like encompass those areas. And so those are places where you might see a lot of deer. Yeah, they like mountain slope habitats as well, with sort of these mixed forest and open areas. But again, it really depends on what kind of deer you're talking about, right? This is a large family, and so the different animals are going to have different sort of preferences when it comes to where they live and what they eat, what sort of temperatures and things like that. Let's see what else. Deer are generally considered generalists in what they eat, which just means they eat plants, but that they'll eat a lot of different kinds of plants. This is why deer are known, I think, for getting into people's gardens, right? Even if you have other things available, they are still interested in eating whatever you might have available to them. They don't really care necessarily if they have forage that's available that's not in your garden, right? They're still going to be like, oh, how nice. So you planted all this lovely salad bar for me. Deer are excellent jumpers and swimmers, so they are considered ruminants or cud chewers, and they have a 4-chambered stomach. So their teeth are sort of flatter, which is, better for a lot of that like chewing of grasses and things like that. Apparently there are some deer, such as those on the island of Room, that consume meat when it is available. That's very interesting. I think most deer don't do that. It says nearly all deer have a facial gland in front of each eye, and the gland contains a strongly scented pheromone used to mark its home range. Bucks of a wide range of species open these glands wide when angry or excited, which is very interesting. So this is also how they kind of like know and how they, I guess, mark their territory. We talked about antlers a little bit. Deer are browsers, feed primarily on foliage of grasses, sedges, forbs, shrubs, and trees, and occasionally on lichens, especially in northern latitudes during winter when there's probably not a lot else available. Again, they have small, unspecialized stomachs that sort of move the food along. Let's see. It says, rather than digesting vast quantities of low-grade fibrous food like sheep or cattle do, deer select easily digestible shoots, young leaves, fresh grasses, soft twigs, fruit, fungi, and lichens. So they are gonna, again, this is why they get into your garden, right? They're like, ooh, look at those young, new plants I'm so excited about, and like fresh grasses, right? This is, I would say, why they're sometimes considered like a nuisance, especially if they're kind of coming into your property. But it says that they pick this like low fiber food based on just kind of their own nutritional requirements and how their stomachs work. Let's see. I think maybe that's all we need to know for now. Again, they've been around for a long time, evolved from different tusked ancestors, which is interesting. But like we said, they're prehistoric, so pre-written word. Cave paintings of deer. So they have been around with humans also for a very long time. And like I said, this sort of Cervidae family includes almost like all of those like wild deer-like species. So elk and reindeer and white-tailed deer and moose and like reindeer. Oh, I said that, caribou. So when we talk today, I will sort of be talking about deer specifically, and then also some elk, or I don't think I have any tarot cards that have a moose on them, but But yeah, I do have some that have elk. So let's get into more of their animal meanings. And again, I'm going to be specifically talking about deer. But again, because it is a large family, we can generalize a bit. Although I would say elk and reindeer and moose actually all have their own like symbolism associated with them. So it's a bit challenging to talk about. But, and again, all that info is pulled from Wikipedia. I'll have it linked in the show notes. So we'll get into meaning and symbolism of deer. The word associated with them is humble. And this comes from TanyaCastile.com that talks about a lot of symbolism of animals. So the deer has a graceful presence and heightened sensitivity. It embodies a unique symbolism of humility, awareness, and gentle strength. In the wild, deer are naturally vigilant. They use their keen senses to stay alert to potential dangers. This state of constant awareness reminds us of the importance of staying present and tuning into our environment. By adopting these heightened awareness, we can approach our daily lives with more mindfulness and becoming attuned to the subtle clues that can guide us. For instance, in a moment of stress or potential conflict, instead of reacting immediately, we can pause, observe, and respond with the same calm attentiveness that a deer might use to assess its surroundings. Deer also symbolize humility and gentle strength, as they are seen in this quiet way that they navigate their environments. Again, they are prey animals, so most prey animals move around very silently because that's how they try to get away from other predators noticing them. Their movements through forests and fields are cautious, deliberate, almost as if they're aware of the impact they have on the world around them. This humility invites us to be more conscious of our actions and the energy we bring to our relationships. It says, for example, if we find ourselves in a disagreement, the deer's gentle approach encourages us to set aside pride and to listen with an open heart, promoting understanding over conflict. Let's see. Deer also demonstrate remarkable adaptability, changing their behavior based on the seasons and environment. They move seamlessly through different landscapes. Again, think about elk and caribou and moose and how they all sort of encompass or go in different areas. So they have a lot of resilience throughout change and shifting food sources. They adapt to that. The flexibility reminds us to approach life's transitions with grace, seeing change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth. Whether we're navigating a new job, a relationship shift, a personal challenge, moving, deer teach us to adapt with humility, trusting that we have the resilience to overcome whatever comes our way. Just as the deer glides through its environment with ease, we too can find confidence in our ability to navigate the complexities of life with humility and grace. So, elk and moose, I'll just briefly talk about, but some of the symbolism associated with them. So elk represent alertness and engagement. They're known for their strength and endurance in the wild. Their loud bugle calls inspire us to express ourselves confidently and connect with others through clear communication. And again, probably just like elk move, I would say, in a lot larger herds, at least from my knowledge and experience of seeing them, right? So communicating with each other is going to be even more important. Whereas moose embody independence and strength, thriving in solitude and commanding respect with their massive antlers. Their calm yet imposing presence encourages self-reliance and embracing our unique power. And moose are truly huge. I had never been super close to one or seen them like move a lot. I've seen them hiking occasionally, but when I went to Rocky Mountain National Park, I guess 2 Augusts ago now, with my family, we came upon a lake that was up in the Alpine area in Rocky Mountain National Park with a moose with calves, so with babies, and then a bull, so a male moose, and also some other ones, and they were massive, and it was kind of terrifying because they move so quickly because their legs are so long, that we had to kind of like keep hiking away from them. They were kind of making their way around this lake that was, again, up high in an alpine area where we were. We hiked up to it, and then we were going to go down, but up there, yeah, we saw like a mom and 2 babies, calves, and again, the babies are like cow sized, like they're already huge, but I just couldn't believe how fast they could move. Their legs are so long, and again, they really have this like, at least to me, like, get out of my way. They're like very calm generally, I would say. Like when they're on their own, they seem like, oh, look at them, they're like eating plants in the water. Moose really like to be in the water, I think, in particular when it's hot in August in Colorado, and they live up high, so they go in the water and they eat a lot of plants in lakes and stuff like that, a lot of aquatic plants, and so they spent a lot of time in there. But there were a lot of people around because, again, it's like summer in a national park, and people were scaring me because they were getting way too close, or we literally felt like we had to like keep like hiking or like running away from the moose because they could just move so quickly. And again, it was cool to see them like up that close and to watch them feed in the water. Very cool. But I couldn't believe how many moose we saw while there, because moose can really like charge and be very, I don't know, they're like as big as an elephant. Like they're not as wide, but they're super tall. And you really don't want to mess with them, but they're so agile. Again, like different from, I mean, buffalo or something like that, where they really like keep their heads down and just kind of like graze in the pasture generally. Moose, we like saw one like 4 feet from the trail when we were hiking up, and I think it was even like a calf or a juvenile, so we were like kind of freaked out because we were like, I don't know where the mom is, like, is she gonna come get mad at us because we're really close to it? They had kind of like tucked I think the baby like in the brush, and then later we hiked elsewhere and saw all these moose like going around a lake, and we had to keep like moving away from them because they didn't really care about us, but we were trying to be respectful and not engage with them in that way. And again, all that info other than my lovely story came from TanyaCastile.com. Let's see what else. Yeah, let's talk about its relation to the tarot. So I have the Anima Mundi Tarot deck by Megan Wyrewenden, known as the Creeping Moon on Instagram. I always tag them when I put these cards up. So I have 2 cards from that deck. I have a deer that's on the Queen of Pentacles card, and I have an elk, I believe, that's on the Hierophant card from that deck. So let's go through and confirm that those are correct. I think they say what kind of deer it is. Pentacles. Queen. The Queen of Pentacles is a white-tailed deer, a female. The Queen of Pentacles is a mother figure who works hard to create a stable, comfortable place for her family. This could either be you or someone in your life who you look up to. Be compassionate, balanced, and down to earth to others as well as yourself. Upright, it's about kind-heartedness, charity, motherly figure, caring, homely, and security. And then the Hierophant card, I feel like I always say that wrong. Okay, so it is an elk. And it says the Hierophant suggests to stay within convention. Rather than being innovative, now is the time to stick to what has already been tried and true. The Hierophant, however, also encourages pursuing knowledge, such as through education or joining a group, religion, conforming, tradition, education, and group identity, which again, if you think about elk, they move in quite large of herds. Like I've seen like 30 to 100 move together at once. I know reindeer and caribou are also like this. They have large migrations. Whereas deer, generally, I would say you see like a family of them, like a couple of them, or even one on its own. Although usually when you see one deer, there's more. They like to come out at dawn and dusk, I would say. Again, they're prey animals, so they're much more cautious, and in dawn and dusk I think the lighting is not as good, which is probably not great for them, but it's cooler and they can kind of come out and eat a lot before the sun goes down or it gets too hot in the day. Yeah, let's see. And then the other card I found, and this was just kind of from Googling, was the Six of Cups is associated with deer, I guess. There's a, let's see, I think there's a tarot deck. I know there's a Deer in the Wild Unknown deck, but that one doesn't really have suits necessarily. But yeah, the Six of Cups, tarot, deer. Yeah, what deck is this from? Anyway, so this was the other association I saw with deer, was the Six of Cups. And I pulled the Six of Cups card from the Sasarbito Tarot deck by Stasia Burrington, and it sort of depicts like what looks like a young person. We see them like their chest is bare and their head is facing up with their hair kind of behind them, like putting their face towards the sky, and there's all these like yellow flowers sort of like blooming out of their chest and going up, and we see butterflies. So it's a very like light, like a transformation, or just like a young juvenile energy about that card. So in this deck it says the Six of Cups is about innocence, wonder, and curiosity. This card shows a young person looking up in awe at the flowers and butterflies overhead. The plants sprout from his or her chest. The Six of Cups is all about finding beauty and magic in your surroundings and in yourself. They are interconnected. This card is youthfully optimistic, full of naivete, with open eyes and open mind, enthusiastic and joyful. Take time to play here. Be kind and generous. This card can sometimes indicate a child or the birth of a baby, and it's about innocence, wonder, and curiosity. So that was the other card that I sort of saw associated with this. And yeah, on the rainbowofcrazy.wordpress.com, their blog is talking about the Six of Cups and the deer. I think maybe they created a deck where they made the Six of Cups a deer, which I really like. But yeah, it kind of gives that same energy. There's also on the partingthemists.com, they talk about the Spirit Animal Oracle deck as having a deer spirit, which and the phrase associated with it is bring a gentle touch. It says the time has come to be gentle and diplomatic when dealing with others. You might have found yourself in a situation where negotiations are necessary in order to reach your goal. Be mindful of the words you choose, but do not worry. Deer spirit reminds you that you have the ability to be sure-footed and confident while showing humility and respect for others. So there's that like humility, humbleness. Again, you will find that your capacity for calm and grounded communication is heightened at this time. Follow the way of the deer spirit and you will do well, gaining the respect of others and finding common ground that is pleasing to you. Remember that understanding others and their needs will be more powerful at this time than putting your own first. If you do that, you will be rewarded tenfold. All right. And that was from, like I said, partingthemists.com. And I was talking about the deer spirit card from the Spirit Animal Oracle. All right, and then like I said, I referenced the Anima Mundi tarot deck that I have and the Sasarbito tarot deck. So let's dive in and see what the cards have to say today on this topic. What message do deer have to share with us today? What do we need to learn? What else do we need to hear? And I'm grabbing my newest deck that I just got over, I think Monday, maybe a couple days ago. That is the Herb Crafters Tarot. I referenced it a lot in my Plant Allies season. I kept finding it in my research, and I was like, okay, I really like this deck and the look of it. Maybe I need to get it. So I went ahead and ordered it. So let's see here. I'm gonna give it a little shuffle. The cards are very new, so they're very slippery, which makes them hard to shuffle. Okay, and again, this is the Herb Crafters Tarot, written by Letitia Guthrie and artwork by Joanna Powell Colbert. Okay, I pulled the Two of Earth, which is witch hazel, and it depicts witch hazel, which is a plant, like a tree that blooms in wintertime. And then there's like a birdhouse, like a human-made birdhouse on the witch hazel that has some birds going in and out of it. And then there's all these like beautiful streamers coming off the tree, and then we see sort of like an icy river in the back, and it's winter time. And I did pull it in reverse, so we'll see. I don't know if this deck has reversals. I don't think so, so I'll try to interpret what we think that means. Okay, Two of Earth. Oh no, that's the Ace of Earth, Two of Air, there we go. Two of Earth, Witch Hazel. So full hands, rich life, balance on the edges of depth and lightness, find joy in each moment. So it talks about what's on the card. A blanket of fresh snow covers the ground on a winter day. The vibrant yellow flowers of a witch hazel tree illuminate the scene. The other plants on the land are brittle and leafless. Colored ribbons are tied to the tree's branches. A family of healthy blue tits emerges from a woven birdhouse for a midday snack. A busy life is an abundant life. Your many skills are called to task at once. Witch hazel is valued for providing multiple functions: food and refuge for birds, flexible branches for baskets, and bark for medicine. Flowering in late winter, witch hazel blends the edges of winter and spring, grief and joy, depth and lightness. The ability to hold the tension of opposing interests brings prosperity. Your stability may feel at risk, but as the flowers promise, relief is not far off. When the world shifts around you, find solid ground in the present moment. Like witch hazel blossoms that brighten a monochromatic winter landscape, adding levity to your tasks will lighten your load. So that is the Two of Earth about witch hazel, and it does really remind me of the deer and how it talks about them always being on like the edge of the forest and the like meadow or pasture or prairie, and that they have this lightness about them and how they can move quickly, but they also are quite quiet, and so they have both speed but also like intention, and I feel like that really comes up with this card here. As the world shifts around you, find solid ground in the present moment, and also about being present again. I'm going to a baseball game tonight, and it's making me think about being present, so that like the ball doesn't hit me. I find them to be a fun thing to watch, but that like vigilance required sometimes at a baseball game is not relaxing, at least to me. So it's making me think about that as well, which is kind of funny. All right, so in closing, if you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, you click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest, to get more info and to get the dates and where we're going to be starting, what we're going to be doing, how much, all that stuff. We'll be working together for 12 weeks of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot. Links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.